All right, joining me now to discuss the importance of immigration on a country's economic health is Zeke Hernandez. He's a professor at the Wharton School and author of the upcoming book, The Truth About Immigration, Why Successful Societies Welcome Newcomers. The book comes out on Tuesday, which is why we already had you booked for this, Zeke. But then Donald Trump came out and made the speech on Friday morning in which, after having been convicted of 34 counts, you'd think that he'd give some priority to discussing himself and his guilt or his innocence or whatever. Started carrying on about 29,000 Chinese people with good smartphones who are invading the country. It's his go-to now. The demonization of immigration has become, in Donald Trump's worst moment, his go-to was to demonize immigrants.
Yeah, I think that what you're talking about is that it's always been politically expedient to categorize immigrants as villains who steal our jobs or threaten our security or who are unassimilable. And, you know, that's common. It's always been that way, even 100 years ago, as you just mentioned before the break. The interesting part to me is that even those who are in favor of immigration don't have a good counter argument to that. They pose what I call the victim narrative, the idea that immigrants are these poor, huddled masses who need our compassion, and that's going to cost us a lot, but it's the morally right thing to do. I've been researching this for 20 years, and the hard-nosed evidence tells us that the reality is that immigrants are neither villains nor victims. In our own self-interest, they're net positive contributors to everything that you want for an economically prosperous community, for a socially prosperous community and country. That's the truth. And so we don't need to be afraid, nor do we need to just have a moral argument. This is for our own good.
And I'm going to separate those two buckets because to be a sort of the social benefit of immigration is a separate and interesting topic. I obviously tend to lean into the economic argument because that's just where I'm from. You've published a great op-ed in which you say that Democrats are losing some of the battle on this. But you also write in your op-ed, the economic argument, the number of visas we hand out is far below what our country needs for economic, humanitarian, and other purposes. We don't even replace the 700,000 prime working age people who die each year, let alone allow the people needed to power an ever expanding and ever more complex economy, end quote. Let's just talk about that. This is a problem that is facing much or most of the developed world. America is not unique in this front, but America has the ability to bring in lots of people because lots of people want to come to America.
Yeah, look, like I said, this is a hard-nosed, self-interested argument here. You want an economically prosperous country. You want more immigration. Just think of what makes your community, your local community, prosperous. So let's think of what your wish list might be. You probably want a lot of investment because those investments create jobs. You want innovation in terms of new technologies and products. You want something that's culturally interesting. You want a lot of entrepreneurship, people starting new businesses. You want skills. You want talented people. The evidence tells us that immigrants contribute positively to all of those. For example, immigrants are 80% more likely than natives to start businesses. Those businesses create jobs. Where immigrants settle, firms from their home countries invest, and those investments create jobs. Simple example of that, one of the fastest growing restaurant chains in the United States is called Pollo Campero. It's a company from Central America, super popular there. They came to the United States to sell their food to the Central American immigrant community. Along the way, they've created thousands and thousands of jobs, not just for immigrants, but for natives. And they've introduced new ideas, new recipes, new products that make all of our lives better. And we haven't even scratched the surface of innovation and other things.
Yeah, right. And it depends. Like if we're having this conversation in Silicon Valley, all you'd be doing is arguing with CEOs who say, can we get more visas to get more of these people in because we can't fill our jobs? How do you counter the argument with Donald Trump and Republicans? It's not just the vermin and the dehumanizing and the language he uses, but it is also the idea that they are dangerous and they're criminal. And that tends to trickle down and people seem to latch onto those things. Is there a specific thing that Democrats should be arguing to counter that?
About the criminality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, of all the facts about immigrants that we have, the clearest one, by far the most unambiguous, is that it's not just that immigrants don't commit crimes, they commit significantly fewer crimes than natives. The group that has the lowest rate of crime of any type, drug, violent, property in the United States, are undocumented immigrants. And so it's just a myth. Now, this is political season, and so you're 100% likely to see an ad about some undocumented immigrant who murdered or raped someone. And that event did happen, but that's a huge exception, right? If we did the same for other kinds of people, we would have a lot more ads about people who are non-immigrants.
Zeke, thank you for your book. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll continue this conversation. Zeke Hernandez is a professor at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School and author of The Truth About Immigration, Why Successful Societies Welcome Newcomers. The book hits the shelves on Tuesday, and it is an important book for people. Even if this is not your central issue, it is a central conversation that you're going to end up having with a lot of people. So it's an easy read, and it'll arm you with a lot of facts.